everyone, it's Justine and welcome to another video tutorial. Today we're going to learn how to emboss on vellum to create this really pretty silver elegant card. Designing this for So Susie Stamps. May is actually a different kind of release. We're doing a recap on this year's 2016 stamps that have been released already. So now's a great chance to pick up those stamps that you may not have gotten if they were sold out, or to just get some more ideas for those stamps you purchased. So each one of us is going to be doing a month, so be sure to check out the So Susie link I have in the below, and you'll be able to see all the different projects that were created with the stamps from 2016. I was assigned April stamps, which were just the ones from last month, and I'm going to be using the chrysanthemum flowers here, and we're going to be creating a background with all 4 of these flowers using Versamark ink and silver embossing powder. So I'm just going to speed you up as I'm creating and stamping out my background. I am using all 4 of these stamps, so some are solid, some are lined, so you just have to be careful when you're lining them up that you're not putting too many solid next to each other without having a line in between, things like that. But other than that, it's quite random, my placement of the stamps. So I'm just doing Versamark, and what's nice about stamping Versamark on black is you can actually see them quite well and know where you're stamping, versus when you're stamping on white, it's quite a lot harder to see. And I'm just stamping this, all of them. It won't dry in time. As long as you stamp, you don't take 10 minutes in between each stamp on your placement, it should be fine for putting the embossing powder on. If you get any excess embossing powder on your card, you can remove it using a dry paintbrush. So for example, I had a little bit of a line here, so I just took my dry paintbrush and wiped off that powder before I melted it. So now you're going to see the silver melt using my heat gun. So I like to put my heat gun on for about a minute before applying it to my paper so that it goes nice and quickly. And you see how that silver embossing powder melts and changes. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love silver and gold and seeing the effects that they create, especially on black paper. Now to stamp on vellum, it's essentially the same process. The only thing though with vellum is it is quite slippery. So when you are stamping, you want to make sure that you push straight down and lift straight up. So I'm just going to use my embossing bag, especially for this, because I don't want any static to cling to the vellum, which it often does do if you don't use an embossing bag. You can try it without it. It has worked for me in the past, but I only have about a 50-50 success rate with that. So I'm going to be using this sentiment. It's quite big from So Susie Stamps, and I'm going to be doing the exact same process. So again, just be careful when stamping on vellum, because when you push down, it will slide slightly. So you want to make sure just push straight down and then push straight up. It just took me a second to get it straight here on the card, just because it's hard to see. So you might want to stamp with your MISTI for this. It might just be a lot easier. And then using silver embossing powder, I just covered it. And I find embossing powder melts quicker on vellum, I think because the vellum heats up quicker. And I always like to have my heat gun on for quite a while before applying it to the vellum. So I apply the heat to the vellum as little as possible, and it melts straight away. So you can see just how quickly that melts. You're actually in real time right now, not sped up. It just took literally 2 seconds and it's melted. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it down to the size that I need it to be for the front of my card. So I just simply cut that around in a rectangle shape, and then I'm going to apply everything to my card base. My card base measures 11 by 4 1/4 inches, and it's scored there in the middle at 5 1/2 inches to make a top folding card. I'm going to apply some pressure with a bone folder to make sure I have a nice crisp fold. And then I am going to add the front panel and my vellum layer. Now I'm going to be using Tombow Mono Liquid Adhesive to apply the front panel here. Now what's tricky about the vellum is that you have to glue underneath the embossing or else you'll see it. So I originally thought of using glue dots and putting some glue dots under the text to make it stick to the card. It would give it a nice strong bond, but you could see the glue dots below the text. So I ended up using the Tombow Mono Liquid Adhesive again and just very carefully applied some glue behind the text letters and then applied that to a piece of black cardstock and then onto my actual card. I was thinking of putting down the vellum directly onto the card panel, and that would have worked, but because I had that big solid flower there, it would have been quite distracting to the sentiment, so I had mounted it on a piece of black paper. I thought it ended up just looking nicer and added a little bit of extra something to the actual card itself. So right now you're seeing it with glue dots on the bottom, and I ended up switching that just to regular glue, because again, it just didn't work out very nicely, and you can see the difference there. You don't see the adhesive at all when I use the glue. So that's the end of today's card tutorial. If you're interested in any of the supplies, they're linked to below in the video description or on my blog. Here you can visit my blog by clicking up at the top. Over on the right, you can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel, or you can click on the card there to check out another video that I created a couple of days ago. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and see you next time.